Hey, how's it going, everyone? Todorek here, and today's video is talking about Unyielding Netherprism. Netherprism drops off of Fractalus, the 6th boss of Manaforge Omega, and it is a powerful on-use trinket specifically for burst windows. In Raid, this has some limited value at best, especially as it's not designed in a way that's really conducive to raid encounters. However, in Mythic Plus, this has some great use cases. Now, you may be wondering, what is Nether Prism? Let me show you. So what Nether Prism does is it deals a proc of damage every 10 seconds when you affect an enemy. That is that as soon as you deal damage or have some kind of cast on an enemy at the end of that 10-second ICD, it will proc. And that will deal damage, which is split between nearby enemies and increases by 30% per enemy up to 2.5 times damage, and then it splits. And it also gives you a stack of latent power. Latent power is an on-use that you can use for agility. And this stacks up to 18 times, which would be about 3 minutes of constant combat, 180 seconds. So, if I hit a dummy here, you'll see in the bottom right, or up on my buff bar, that I am tracking Nether Prism and latent energy. And then whenever you decide that you do want to press the trinket, you will convert these stacks into agility. It will continue to build up even after you've used it. So you can see I used it, and it's given me 6,175 agility. And then I gain another stack, and that is going to be usable when the trinket is next up. However, what you can do instead is save it up for long periods of time, even though it has a short cooldown. When and how do you properly do that is the question. Well, that depends on what you are playing. While this has gone over in their own guides, both Eldrazi Reaver and Felsguard Mythic Plus guides have this information in them, there is moments for both where you do large amounts of burst. One caveat to this is that in single target scenarios, you deal less burst damage and a lot more of a flat damage profile for both Eldrazi Reaver and Felsguard compared to AoE, where you have these massive burst windows. So we do burst less than in AoE scenarios, as we are just using our massive AoE tools to do that single target damage, making them a lot less efficient, as we have a lot more of a flat damage profile. And what that means is that in single target, if you use a 12 or 13 stack Nether Prism, that's going to provide you with less extra DPS than if you were to use it on an AoE scenario. I now have a cat. That means there are cases where it's going to be better for you to save your trinket on single target and either save it up for maybe an ad phase on a boss so that you can cleave and use that funnel on Eldrazi Reaver to funnel into the boss, or save up extra stacks for a larger AoE burn phase. And there could be a good case to use this on where, for example, you're going into a boss and you're going to be casting meta on it. You might just press your Nether Prism as soon as you enter the boss, and when meta comes up later, you'll press it without Nether Prism. That means you'll be building up stacks prior to and after that meta cast, and for the large pull after the boss, such as going into the church and priory after boss 1, you'll then have a large, nearly 18 stack Nether Prism, which will give you an insane amount of agility on use. With 18 stacks, this trinket gives about 54,000 agility at a 704 heroic item level. I believe this number goes up to be even closer to 70,000 on a full mythic one. And when you have this trinket equipped, typically you have about 90k agility right now. So you can kind of think of it as nearly a 50% damage buff, a little bit less, probably closer to 45% for the 20 seconds that this is up. Now, the trade-off to it is Nether Prism has no base stats on it. It's just the proc of damage, which is not that great, to be honest. Across a key, it's usually going to be somewhere around 2 to 2.5% if your class is being played well. But you can make massive use of these burst windows. In Felsguard, building up for a church pull in Priory, that's where I've had that pull that I had a clip of where I hit 62 million DPS, and it just feels very good on Felsguard in general to use this trinket, as you do so much burst DPS. consistently on your metamorphosis window, so you just line this up to every metamorphosis window, and you want to get all of your I-beams and demon surges into the window with your demon souls. For Eldrachi, there's a little bit of nuance to it, because you can actually use this outside of metamorphosis, but typically it's the same, where you're just going to fight even harder to save up Reaver's Glaives for your meta windows, and then try to chain spend during the 20-second buff. In an AoE pull, that may mean using something like 4 to 5 Reaver Glaives back to back on a massive AoE pull, or in Halls of Atonement, where I get to funnel a massive pull into Halkias, and again, hitting nearly 60 million sustained DPS while this buff is up, and I'm consistently AoEing. And of that, a lot of that damage is also just single target priority damage going right into the boss. I do think this is a very good trinket, maybe even better than I had previously rated it, but there is downsides. Now, the biggest downside to Netherprism is when you die, you lose all of your stacks. With Eldrachi Reaver, this is already a problem, and you're doubling down into it, where if you ever die, you will be losing all of your damage. No more Reaver's Glaives, no Unyielding Netherprism stacks. That means it is going to be a massive DPS loss, as well as the fact that you're going to have a large hit to your timer and your key if you do die. So it means better play is going to be required, and one-off accidents or miscommunications where a kick goes off and kills you is going to be exceptionally punishing. This isn't something that you have to worry about with other trinkets, though as Eldrachi you do have to worry about it, and that's why I wouldn't necessarily hard recommend it as the best trinket that we can run, because there is that large downside. Outside of that, though, it does seem generally a very good trinket to run. There is some arguments to be made for saving on bosses to be not exactly ethical, as you're going to be moving your damage into AoE pulls and off of single target, but I do stand by the fact that it is more efficient for Havoc on both builds to use it on AoE, as our single target burst is not that high and we do more consistent pure single target damage. However, in AoE we do crazy amounts of single target priority damage due to the AoE that we are dealing. This can cause you to pump absolutely absurd amounts of damage into a single mob, and I've seen hits of Wounded Quarry getting close to 70 million with just limited usage of trying out this trinket. So, it's very good, and I do greatly recommend it. It can also be used on damage burn phases, if there's a burn where a mob's taking 100% bonus damage, or in the raid as well, then that is a use case that you can use this on. However, it's not going to excel in every scenario, so you might have to play with it and test it yourself if you do get one. That covers everything that I wanted to talk about. Thanks for watching this video. If you like this content, please leave a like on the video, and if you'd like to continue to see more of my content, you can follow my channel. I do have my Mythic Plus guides, both for Felscard and Eldrachi Reaver, linked in the description below the video if you have not seen those, as well as a link to my other guides, including things like gearing, and pretty much everything that you would need to know to play Havoc Demon Hunter in Season 3 of The War Within. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.